Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use jump rings to connect bead weaving components. Now I want to start off here today by showing you a couple examples, and let me bring up this little brick stitch earring that I did. Now this uses the 11-0 Miyuki Delicas, and you can see right up there at the top, all of my beads sit this way because this is brick stitch, but I have a little bead up at the top sitting sideways. And the reason is I wanted to add a little jump ring in there. Now that is a 4mm 22 gauge jump ring, and I was able to just slip that right through my bead weaving right there and attach my earring hook. So that's one example here. The other example I have is a bracelet, and this is a nice little bead woven component. This is peyote stitch that's just been tapered to the end. So you can see that all those beads are just sort of sitting one way. So I'm using that little bead on the end, that gold bead, and I was able to get a 21 gauge jump ring through here. Now the reason I wanted to do 21 gauge is because it's a bracelet, so I'm going to be putting a little bit of stress on that chain. Also, I was able to use the same jump ring to attach my clasp and an extra jump ring on the end to finish off the clasp. So that's one way you can do it. So 22 gauge and 21 gauge do work. 22 gauge is a little bit easier to work with. Again, I'm using all 4mm jump rings. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be putting together this component here. So I have two pieces of 12-inch chain, and then I'm going to be connecting these all with little jump rings. And I have those 4mm 22 gauge right there. I have a lobster clasp and a tassel. And let me first start by showing you how to attach that tassel. So I'm going to come up here and grab one of my little jump rings. And you can use two pairs of chain nose pliers for this, or you can use a chain nose and a round nose. So give it a nice big twist to give it a nice little opening there. I'm going to slip that onto my tassel, and what you want to do is get a really good grip on it as much as you can, and then come to the end of the bead weaving, and we're just going to slide that through that last little bead right there on the end. And again, this is where you can have those really fine pliers coming in there. Get a really good grip, try not to let it slip, and close that up. So that is one way you can do it. Now this you could just leave as a component. You could add chain or whatever you want to do that, but I'm going to kind of continue working my way up the chain here. So now you'll notice that these three components up at the top have these little extra beads at the bottom. And the reason I did that is because I'm going to need to attach them. So again, just opening that jump ring, and again, coming into this little bead right up at the top, and you just, take your time, just kind of sneak it through. There we go. And now I can come to this side here and attach it just by sneaking it through that way. Now you kind of want to rotate it again because you're going to be slim on places to grip these. So you just come in there and just give that a little twist and close that up. All right, so now we are just going to be repetitive here. Now this is a really fun little thing to do, especially if you are new to bead weaving and you want to do some little components. If a big piece and a big pattern kind of scares you, don't worry. We are here to give you some of the little pieces as well. Okay, so now, see if I can get this in my hands right. I should have flipped it around. Okay. And don't worry if you are bending your pieces. You'll notice, I'm kind of getting mine in position. I noticed that when you, if your bead weaving is tight enough, you can actually flatten these out on just a flat surface, and they'll kind of come back to their shape and hold the shape there. Okay, so you can see that we have our little pieces coming together there. So I'm just going to continue to work my way up. And again, you can make these into earrings. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. I thought a nice long kind of necklace would be pretty with that little tassel at the end. Okay, so jump ring. My second one there. All right. See, you got to get really close and tight in there. Don't let it slip if you can avoid it. So again, today I am working with the Miyuki Delicas. These are the 11-0s. And I did notice that you can do this with the rounds as well. Again, the 21 gauge does work, but the 22 gauge seems to just fit a little bit easier. Keep in mind though that if you are going to have bead weaving, I thought I could do this by hand. See, I need my tools. If you are going to be doing bead weaving that has several passes through it, and that means several passes of the thread. So let's say you're working on possibly an odd count peyote or something that, you know, would require you to put your thread through several times. Be mindful of the actual thread that you're using. I would recommend using a 4-pound if you can. If not, make sure that you're aware that if you are going to use that 6-pound, you know, it's going to be a little tighter there. All right, come on. Let me try going at this from the other side here. I should have done that to begin with. So let's start going from the top. There we go. And out to the side. I think that will help. So I'm learning how to do this as well. There we go. So yeah, so let's go from the outside there. I think that'll give us a little bit better grip. Again, this is really, really tight work. You could also, if you wanted to, instead of just having that one jump ring in between each, you could create a little chainmail effect. So you could actually do 2 or 3 little jump rings, depending on how you want them to lay. All right. So let's now come to this side. And the first side is always a little bit easier because it can lay down for you. And all I'm doing is really just making sure that I can get a nice strong place for my pliers to grip. There we go. Okay. Now last one to connect all of these together. Oops, and I twisted that a little funny. There we go. Just pinching it together. Actually, I'm going to just grab a new one. Sometimes it happens. I just twisted a little funny. So make sure that that seam is nice and straight up and down and give it a little twist, just like that. Okay, so now we are going to go through this one first and down and catch this side coming out here. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay. So that is the connection of the piece. So let's go ahead and just take a moment to just finish this off here. Now again, you have an option here. And your option is to switch jump rings for the end piece of the clasp. Sorry, I didn't like that one. I'm very picky with my jump rings. There we go. So we're going to slide this one onto here and attach our little chain to one side. Come in with our pliers, close that up, making sure we have a nice strong closure. We don't want to lose our chain. And we're just going to repeat that one more time. On the other side, there we go. Coming in, sneaking it through that last little bead there at the top. Closing that off. Okay, and now I'm just going to kind of scooch this out of frame because I want you to see the end here. So now here's where I'm saying you can switch jump rings. So if you wanted to, you could do a 5mm 20 gauge jump ring if you feel that you're going to put a lot of stress on this. But I think the 22s are going to be fine. I mean, really, unless you're tugging on it, or I know sometimes, you know, kids will tug on things. You know, I think you can really just get away with the 22. But if it's more of a comfort level for you, or you just want to make sure, the other option too is that you could just use one strand of chain. You actually don't even have to bother using a clasp here if you're going to make it large enough to just slip over your head. So that's another design option there as well. All right, so let's slip that on and just close up our last little jump ring there. Perfect. Okay, so we are all finished. Just loop that together, done, and there is our little necklace. So that is how you can use some jump rings to attach little components together. I think it makes for a nice little look. It doesn't have to be this big bead woven thing. So using these small little components in this way is just a really fun technique. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can see more videos and even more tutorials by heading over to Beadaholique.com. And of course, you can get everything you've seen here by shopping Beadaholique.com. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye.